we have Brett Dolan with us from Touchdown Radio, Arkansas Razorback Athletics, Perfect Game, and many, many more. Brett, where are you today?
Well, getting ready for the same game you are tonight with women's basketball. So it's a Bud Walton Thursday afternoon.
It sure is. 6:30 tip-off, Arkansas against Ole Miss. And I'm assuming you've got all the games for the baseball weekend, which means maybe a little sit around and wait here and there.
Well, I've got the first three. On Monday, I've got 3 volleyball games in Kansas City instead. So I'm glad they're not playing a doubleheader, at least now for Monday. But I'm hopeful that we can suffer through the cold on Friday and still figure out a way to play at least that game on Saturday. I know that the weather's not going to be great, not just here, but around the country. The number of different press releases I'm seeing from all the teams that are altering their schedule and doing something similar is pretty vast right now.
What do you think on Big Z as an NBA prospect? Because we weren't really thinking about this very much until potentially the last 2 weeks. The idea that he would be back here was an easy thought, but now maybe not so much.
It feels like we're watching his brother from that game on Thanksgiving when Thomas Love just was raining in threes and having a huge game. It feels like that's what Big Z's been showing. But I heard Matt talking before I popped on, and I'm with him. You know, the NBA drafts a little bit differently. They draft sometimes on potential and looking a couple of years down the road. And my goodness, what he has shown us in the last few games has been fun to watch, whether it's the step-back threes and just reining in the pretty jump shot, in addition to some block shots and some other baskets at the rim. It's been a huge part of making Arkansas much more formidable and certainly has elevated his prospects for the next level.
Where we kind of know the 6 guys that are playing on this Arkansas Razorback team since Boogie went out. And sometimes, you know, a team can galvanize together and they kind of come together when your role's a little more defined. You got a little more on your plate. And it seems like that's what this team's been doing. How impressed have you been with this Razorback team over the last 5 games?
Well, it certainly seems to be a better product. And I'm with you, whether it's just kind of galvanizing or not. The one thing they were doing, even when Boogie was here, a lot of guys were playing a lot of minutes. And to do that, you have to be in pretty good shape, and you can't get into foul trouble, and you got to be able to kind of manage 35, 36 minutes. They figured out a way to do it. At times, the offense has looked a little more free-flowing, whether it's just a better rhythm. Now, again, you know, Nelly will have a couple of games where it looks like he's kind of found it, and he's the guy to count on for some scoring, and then he'll have a couple where he's 4 for 13-ish, and certainly I think if he can have more good games than bad games going forward with this offense, the schedule's not overwhelming either, that it puts them in a spot where not only can they get off the bubble, but maybe find a way to get into that tournament because, things were not looking good for a long time, and obviously they played better, and the results have also followed, and that's the main thing.
Who's the best team in the country for you right now? I know we got the Iron Bowl of basketball going, Alabama, Auburn. I'm kind of leaning Duke right now. That people are saying the ACC's down. They're only going to get 3 or 4 teams, and if Arkansas can get to 7, they're going to get in the tournament. Who is right now? Do you think who's playing the best basketball in the country?
I think it's a fun argument, and I'm with you. I think Duke's been good. It's hard to kind of evaluate them considering their conference against the conference we see on a regular basis. It's a weird thing, Matt. There's a couple of teams I saw in person this year that I didn't think were top teams, but I thought were top 10 teams. I saw Iowa State in person. I saw Houston in person. And I thought, well, these teams are pretty good. And then they go out and they lose 2 out of 3 games. And it's forced me to kind of reevaluate as we get into February just who are these elite teams. I mean, I thought Alabama at times showed some aspects of being a top 6 or 7 team the other night with their guards and their ability to get to the rim. Auburn, I think, still deserves that opportunity to be in that conversation, too, even though they've not been flawless as well. It may be a case, too, where it has kind of a college football feel to it, where we realize there are 7 or 8 really good teams, but the order is going to have to play itself out because I don't think we're anywhere near done with chaos in the next 30 days.
Yeah, notice that we're not. Now, maybe I should look at this differently. I was saying nobody's talking about having to change the basketball tournament. I know some people do. Fans don't want that. Nobody does. The SEC and Big Ten, I think, have some meetings coming on either tomorrow or early next week that are focused on football. But I know that those two, the big leagues of college sports, are also trying to muscle through in basketball as well. I mean, they want more teams into the basketball tournament too. So they'd be talking about Arkansas, being the team. They're firmly on the bubble right now, Brett. That's exactly what the SEC wants, is for the teams that are even struggling in their own league to make it into the NCAA tournament. So, I don't want the change of it. I think the SEC and the Big Ten do, and I think that's a push they're going to be making.
No, you're 100% right, and I would agree. I think the tournament works well with 68. To me, it's still 64. The play-ins get you to that number, but regardless, it has that 3-weekend process. You win 2 games your first weekend, you win 2 games your next weekend, you're in the Final Four. It has kind of a nice flow to it over a very busy month. I don't think you need more teams, but I'm with you. I have no reason to believe that these bigger conferences aren't going to try and find a way to get their sub-500 conference teams in. And listen, I understand the SEC's difficult, or the Big Ten, or what other leagues that we're talking about in different sports, but I do think it does dilute it just a bit. I think 12 is too many in college football, so I really think 68 and then going up to another level or another tier would be too much. If they try and figure out how to do more play-in games so that we're not completely devaluing that 64 bracket once we get to it, maybe they would start with that, But you're right. They're going to try and find a way to get more teams in, almost to the point where you have to be a terrible team in your conference not to be part of an eventual NCAA tournament.
But also the idea here, too, is that if you are the last team or one of the last 3 teams in the SEC to make it in, well, you probably have the kind of talent to go all the way. I mean, just the 3rd place in the Big Ten won the national championship in football. Florida, which I think was the last team into the baseball tournament last year, finished in 2nd place. That you could make a case that that Florida didn't even belong there with the kind of regular season that they had. Now, they had the talent. I don't know if they had the resume to be there. And you could be saying the same thing about somebody out of the SEC in the NCAA basketball tournament, too.
Well, completely agree. And yet I think part of the drama for Arkansas over the next month, can they play well enough? Can they avoid bad losses? Can they get another big win to be in? Can they do some damage in the conference tournament? If we're not even talking about that and we're assuming a 7-11 teams automatically in because there's 80, 90 teams, I don't know what that does for January and February. I kind of enjoy the urgency right now of having to win games and needing to be playing better at some point getting towards March. But if we do enlarge this tournament, I don't know what that does for the regular season drama. I feel like it's affected college football a little and may continue to do so. We've kind of put all our eggs in the postseason basket. I hope college basketball doesn't get to that. I already feel like we're kind of irrelevant in November and December and portions of January because of that.
Hey, I'm kind of watching this thing from afar. I don't know how much you've seen what's going on in Bristol with Hurley, and I know they just dropped out of the top 25. And anytime you're giving I'm all for coaches yelling at fans, giving their resume and calling people baldy. I mean, I love it. Any chance this team is the Skyfall? Any chance they miss the tournament?
I don't think so, but there's no shortage of drama surrounding that team, and maybe it's a Hurley situation. His brother pulled some antics in an Arizona State game I thought were kind of ridiculous, too, where he raced over and pulled his team away from the handshake line because he didn't like somebody who said something to him. I don't know how these Hurley brothers are wired, but obviously they're tremendous competitors. But I don't think they're going to miss. But, and again, Matt, a 2-year championship run is pretty damn good in today's day and age. It'd really be tough to three-peat, but that has not been the smoothest ride at all with their entirety of their season. It's had more than a few bumps.
Superstitions for tomorrow for a doubleheader for opening day, Brett? What do you need to do?
Say again?
Any superstitions for the opening day for tomorrow?
Do I have any superstitions?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we get some broadcaster superstitions. If there's a few wins, I try and keep the same pens. I try and keep the same booth set up. I probably have some weird things from many years of doing that. But I would say tomorrow it's about saving my fingers and frostbite and trying to stay warm in some capacity rather than it is trying to will a couple of wins.
I brought a space heater for the radio booth. I didn't bring an extra one for you in Troy.
Well, we've got one, but you guys are hardier than we are. You believe in opening your windows. I'm to the point where we have to because we've got a camera window that's open. But I don't open the others because I don't need to feel the cold to express that to the people. I'm fully aware of how cold it is. I don't need to have it smacking me in the face. But we will have one as well, I guarantee it. So let's hope that we don't trip some power grid and cause some mid-afternoon blackout.
We're looking forward to it tomorrow. We're looking forward to tonight with the women's basketball game against Ole Miss. I'll see you at Bud Walton in a little bit. Brett, thanks.
Happy crossover season.
BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. With the largest selection of odds on everything from NBA and college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source. From every three-pointer to hat trick, BetOnline has you covered with odds, stats, and more for every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here.